People are asking why I didn't make a video about the double impact on the sun. Very, very rare. Double impact. Two comets coming from two different directions impacting the sun at the same time is not a coincidence. It's not a happenstance. That would be a 1 in a $10 million chance. 10 million to 1 chance of that even happening. So basically, we got to ask ourselves why all of a sudden the number of comets that we can see from planet Earth is up by a factor of 10. Why the number of NEOs that are whizzing by Earth every single day is up by a factor of 10. Why the number of particles, cosmic rays, streaming through our solar system is increased by a factor of 10. Why our background radiation is increased by a factor of 10. And why the number of asteroids, which should not be related to comets, are increasing by a factor of about 10. What is going on? And we told you that we were entering comet swarms and they were coming into the solar system. We talked about this. We made half a dozen comet videos in just a span of 2 months, talking about not so much the parent bodies, but the fragments. And Mach-Holtz just passed underneath Earth, and we've had some tremendous fireballs. Guess what? Coming in for the north and south corridors. Big fireballs. And so why would the asteroid count and the comet count mirror one another when they're completely different objects, when they share completely different orbital planes? And that's a hint that what created asteroids also created a comet. And that's very strong evidence of a collision-based origins and evolution to our entire solar system. Earth, Venus, Mars, created by a single collision. The asteroid belt, created by a collision. The cometary belts, created by collision. So how could something with a period of hundreds of years, how can they show up at the same time? Well, and I mean, those are questions that astronomers are trying to answer. But we have a heliocentric universe, a heliocentric solar system, meaning everything is related to one another. They're not unrelated. And if comets were created by the same impact that created the asteroid belt, then asteroids and comets would have a birth point. All of them would have a birth point. All of them then would have various momentums due to the mass and due to the speed of the fragmentation pattern. But we showed you over and over last year the newly discovered NEOs, asteroids, and comets. And the comets are astounding because you used to wait 1 or 2, maybe even 3 years as an astronomy student just to see a single comet in the telescope. Now you can see 10 of them from Earth right now. So you tell me that isn't an incredible change. So you would expect everything to behave to the laws of physics. All particles must retain the particle physics dynamic, not for subatomic particles, but for macro particles. And this comet right here, we showed you about 4 days ago, hit the sun almost the exact same trajectory as the other one that had hit the sun on the 18th. And so when we look at the Oort cloud, we see there's a nice progression and rotation to this inclined and spherical shaped debris field. When you look at some of the Kuiper Belt objects, you can see they all share a common close approach. They all share a common perihelion. And these are Kuiper belt objects that all share the same perihelion. So you can expect some of them to cluster around the perihelion points, and you did see several class pass close to one another. This is the not the Oort cloud, the Kuiper belt, and you can see that there's objects that are racing through the heart of the solar system. There's a general progression that's a counterclockwise rotation, but there are objects that are passing right through the heart of our solar system, and most of them are traversing from left to right. So they're coming from one direction. So that's telling you that something is taking our nice symmetrical disk of debris, and every once in a while changing the orbits of them and slinging some of this stuff into the inner solar system. But from where? From a single direction, from the left-hand side of the screen to the right-hand side of the screen. So in the last 2 months, we've made a dozen videos regarding NEOs, regarding near-Earth objects. That's what NEO stands for. Asteroids, clusters, and comets that were passing close to Earth, and we never said the parent bodies were a threat. We always maintained that we weren't worried about the parent bodies. We were worried about the fragments that, well, basically you can't see. Well, one of those hit China last month, right after we got through telling you that a bunch of comets were passing close to us, and at the same time, so were asteroids. So remember, comets have a steeply inclined orbit. They orbit over the tops and bottoms of the Earth, the North and the South Pole, while the asteroids try to orbit more of an equatorial plane. So how could completely different objects all of a sudden show up in the same quantities and the same increases at the same time? There's a hint that they're all related. They're all related. And the important thing is not, why didn't we tell you and show you the double impact on the we told you stuff like this was going to be happening. We told you before it happened. Now, and yeah, we get tired of saying, I told you so. And sometimes I don't get tired of it. When people beat you down and try to discredit you, you have to hold up your accomplishments, and you have to illuminate your track record to demonstrate credibility upon which you're speaking. But the fact of the matter is, folks, we're going to take some more impacts. There's going to be more asteroids hitting us, probably in February. But January, February, March are going to be heavy fireball months. And we've already had several breaking the sound barrier, big, bright ones. We're going to get some video and show you those bright, flashing fireballs in the sky. And the only thing you can do, really, is the comets scare me more than the asteroids because they contain cyanide. But the asteroids are the ones that come in the closest. They share a common orbit in terms of plane. They also are smaller and therefore have less momentum to resist Earth's gravitational influence. Some of them are iron asteroids, which then are actually drawn to one of our poles. So Earth kind of can pull them in magnetically into the magnetic field lines. So those we're going to take more impacts. There's just so many NEOs right now that are being discovered, so many close approaches that are passing between us and the moon. So, and it's the ones you don't see that end up rattling your windows and making craters in the soil. And this is all because, well, we all know why it's all here. We don't need to beat a dead horse, do we? A large body has brought this stuff here, and when it reaches its perihelion, all the objects that are related to its original collision are going to come back and boomerang around roughly in the same time frame as when this comes back to its perihelion around the sun. Then there's the new objects it create as it crosses over the Oort cloud and the Kuiper belt, and even the asteroid belt as it passes through the asteroid belt. So it comes through three debris fields, slinging all of this stuff in various directions. And these cometary groups come from completely different sides of the solar system. But the ones that are hitting the sun are the ones that are created at the sun. And the reason that we're thinking the Quake's comets are sometimes only separated by hours is because the fragmentation occurred on the way in. But when two comets from two different directions, on two different sides of the sun, impact the sun at the same time, that's not a coincidence.